All right, guys. So Joel Hardinger here, one of the project managers for Virginia Energy Solutions, also known as Solar Joel. Over here with David.
Howdy.
David Palmerson. So we helped you out. Initially, we got the process started. I think it was back in November.
We started talking in November,
Okay.
and actually got the installation February 1st.
February the 1st. How do you like it so far? Now the system's been on and running a little bit.
I couldn't be more pleased. We had a variety of good things happen. Like I said, they installed it. A truckload with 4 guys showed up early one morning, and 4 hours later they were done.
4 hours they were done. Awesome.
Yeah, it was just pretty quick, and they cleaned up after themselves. And as I told you before, I went up in the attic to make sure that they anchored the rails, the hold-down rails for the panels, to the trusses, because it was important that those things acting in the wind as a great big sail, that they be anchored accordingly. So I was very pleased with how they did it. You can see behind me here, this is the AC portion of the power going to the cutoff panel. Up above my head is the converter, and to this side of it, coming down from the roof, is the DC juice coming into the inverter. I like the way they put it together, and it was all done very professionally, very cleanly.
Awesome.
So that was nice, because you never really know what you're going to get when that kind of thing shows up.
That's right.
But like I said, the guys were efficient, quiet, clean, did everything right, and left. So and we didn't know. My understanding is that different electrical co-ops or utilities take varying amounts of time to confirm or affirm you're wanting to be a electrical generating station, which our house is now technically considered an electrical generating station.
Right.
So fortunately, our house was confirmed so rapidly that we went live 20 days after the installation.
Wow.
So that
That's
means
awesome.
within that 20-day period, Virginia Energy Solutions assisted in making the application through the electrical utility to become a generating station. They made or got the building permits and arranged for the inspector to come out, and had one of their representatives, again Virginia Energy Solutions representative, meet the inspector. It was fairly obvious these two gentlemen had worked together before. So I think the Virginia Energy Solutions rep knew exactly what the county inspector wanted to see.
Okay.
And he pointed those things out rather quickly, and that whole inspection between outside and looking at the panels and the wiring and looking at the panel, the control panel in the garage, that whole thing didn't take half an hour from start to finish.
Gotcha.
And everything was like, yeah. And I was tickled to death, because I'm kind of a anal retentive kind of guy, and I like details.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happened was the engineering drawings that were used to apply for the permit, that were what the inspector had to go by when he came to make the inspection. When that was all done, and he said, okay, I've seen what I need to see, thank you very much, the Virginia Energy Solutions guy handed me that packet, said, here, it's yours. And I was like, yeah, I was giddy like a little kid in a candy shop, because it was like, yeah, that's what I wanted. And
that's awesome.
The fun part about it was also being geeky, if you will.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
When they told me, here's the application that you want to put on your phone, so you can track what's going on with your solar power.
Yeah.
And they said it's the same information we are going to get, because we are going to track what's going on with your solar power, so that we will see if and when, if not before, you see that there might be an issue that needs to be addressed, and we will send the people out to take care of that for you. You won't even have to call, in all likelihood.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we haven't been through anything like that yet, but I like the idea that I was going to get this application that I could see what's going on, how I'm producing, how I'm consuming.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that there's some other entity off out of sight behind the scenes hundreds of miles away that were tracking me as well,
Right.
to make sure I was doing good and that
Yeah,
the
that-
system was doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. I like the idea that through this application I get to see when the sun comes up, because there's no electrical generation from the solar panels without sun,
Right.
and when the sun goes down.
Yeah.
Again, there's nothing there, and you get to see what I'm using, and it's funny, in the late night, early morning, like the midnight to 6 a.m. or sunrise
Yeah.
episode, if you will, there's just these little tiny humps in my consumption around, 300 watts.
Uh-huh.
And the missus and I have come to the understanding that's probably our refrigerators cycling,
Oh, really?
because there's nothing else on, no lights,
Right.
and even if there were lights, they wouldn't be cycling.
Right.
So what cycles? Well, your furnace or your air conditioner or your refrigerators.
Your refrigerator.
So we've got two, and we get to see these little 300 watt humps until the coffee pot comes on, and then we see a big spike
And it
because
goes
of
up
the
a little
heating
bit.
plate on the coffee pot,
Yeah.
and that's how we know our mornings got started. And then we see the graph for what we're producing, and it's thus far it's springtime.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been all over the place. I mean, on bright, sunshiny days, we produce 35 kilowatts.
Wow.
And on absolutely miserable, cloudy, rainy kind of days, we might produce, 4
There you go.
kilowatts. I mean, we just don't do much. But having said all of that, having seen the weather patterns up and down, sunshine, rain, what have you, and some pretty brisk winds. First of all, we know they're up on the roof and they're solid. They're not going to go anywhere, because we've had 60-mile-an-hour winds already.
No
Since
winds this
they've
last
been
week.
yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah,
In this area.
since they installed them. And so we know they're there to stay from that perspective. We've had some pretty hard rains, which, in my way of thinking, cleaned them off. So yay.
Yay. Get all the pollen
yeah,
off and all
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no worries. So we've been happy that from the very first 3 days that we operated, we caught up, meaning that from day 3 going forward and without change, we have always outproduced. We have always sent juice, power back to the electrical utility.
Awesome.
I mean, we've, while we are producing with our own solar panels, it goes directly to the house, and it's more than enough to cover what we're doing, whether it's running the dishwasher, the dryer, the coffee pot, all at the same time. I mean, we've learned now that, sun up to sundown, that's when we do our electrical consumption, because our solar panels are covering it.
Awesome.
Okay, so, and then it's, even though we're using the utilities power from midnight to 6 and from 6 to midnight, sunless periods, what we have shipped to them exceeds what we're using during that time frame.
So you're still always in that negative balance, if you will.
We're always due something from the utility.
That's awesome.
So, and again, I also understand that is something we here at this location with this utility are very fortunate with, because we get a 1-to-1 return.
Yep.
If we give them a megawatt and we need a megawatt, they'll give it right back to us, and we won't get charged for it because we'd given it to them previously.
Yeah.
Now, I understand there are utilities where that's not the case.
Might not be exactly the
Yeah,
same. Yep.
Yeah. So we're happy with that. We got our first bill, and they charged us $8.88. to stay hooked up.
$8.88.
$8.88 to stay hooked up to the grid, so that they can send us a bill, so that they can use the metering to know how much we sent them and how much we've used when the sun isn't shining.
Yeah.
But because we've always outproduced since day 3, we don't owe them anything.
That's fantastic.
We don't owe them anything. So
that's how we want it. That's how we want it to be.
And that was one of the things that was motivating me to go solar in the first place. The missus, she wanted the green thumb. She wanted to protect Mother Nature and the Earth. I was a little more hard and fast, financially motivated.
As many are.
Well, I'll be honest. And what I saw was the chance, because we couldn't pay for the panels entirely up front. The whole cost, we couldn't have incurred that burden, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a big chunk of change. It's like going out and buying a car. I mean, we just can't do that.
Right.
And I don't know that there's a lot of people that have the cash to do that. But anyway, with the loan program that we got favorable ratings with, what that meant to us, and to me specifically, was that my electric bill was never going to change. And it was only going to be 2/3 of what I used to pay in the lowest months of the year.
Wow.
So you would look, my electric bill would vary by as much as 60% from its lowest point. Add 60% to that, and that was the highest point.
Wow.
And what I'm paying is 2/3 of what the lowest point ever was.
Wow.
For my loan payment, and that's my electrical, if you will, bill.
Yeah.
Because I'm not paying the utility any money other than to stay connected for juice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter to me if the State Corporation Commission allows them rate hike after rate hike after rate hike after rate hike, because I'm not buying their power.
You have your own power.
I'm making my own.
You own it.
Yeah. So that to me was just exciting. The fact, and everybody says, well, how long is it going to take you to pay that off? What's the break-even point? And I've done some calculations, and it's going to vary for everybody who gets solar, because it's how many panels do you need?
Right.
What has your utility been charging you up to this point?
Sun direction.
I mean, there's a lot of factors and variables, but for us at this location with our utility and the number of panels we elected to purchase, we like the idea that it's only 1/3 or 2/3 of our lowest bill ever, and it can be. It's up to us, but it can be fixed at that amount.
Yeah. Yeah.
For as long as we're paying on the panels, and then guess what?
No more payment.
Then it goes down to $8.88 a month, because we're getting metered by the utility, and that's the total cost of our electricity.
Nice. It's kind of like owning a house, guys. Like, you might have a mortgage, you might rent an apartment for like $1,000 or $1,200. I know that's low numbers now. It's more like $2,000 to rent an apartment these days. And if someone came up to you and they're like, hey, you could own a house for $1,500. Like, who wouldn't want to go back in that situation? Why not pay less for an expense you're going to have either way? So in this situation, like with David, he's paying the electric bill. Now he's just able to redirect that fluctuating bill that's going to go up year over year over year, the way things have been, to something that's actually fixed. Every time you make that payment, it goes into a piggy bank, if you will. Once that piggy bank's full, you have no more payments, and now you own it, as opposed to just giving AEP. If your bill's $150 a month, that's $1,800 a year you're giving in rent to AEP with no return, as opposed to just redirecting that back into the equity of the home and something you actually have to show for, as opposed to just giving it away. What would you say, like, for someone who might initially be skeptical, like if you had a friend, they're like, I just don't know if I should look at it. You think I should look at it? Like, what advice would you give someone who might be kind of on the fence, like they're just not sure if they should look at it yet or not?
Well, again, I can only speak for myself and come up with some what ifs.
Yeah.
But as an example, I think you could certainly do business with another solar company. We chose to go with Virginia Energy Solutions, and we were quite thankful that we did, because for us, all we basically had to do is say, yeah, we want to do this.
Yeah.
We did the research to determine that we were going to get the kind of electric panels, solar panels, that were the better kind to get, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two camps for them in this day and age, and the camp we chose is the more efficient and the better producing kind,
Yeah.
if you will. So we liked that was what Virginia Energy Solutions was offering.
Yeah.
We liked the fact that we didn't have to apply through our local government to get a change to our property
Mm-hmm.
that would ultimately end up affecting I would assume it's going to affect our property assessment for tax purposes, but
Yeah.
again, a pittance compared to what we're saving
Yeah.
in not having to pay the electrical utility. So
I have heard in some areas, it might even apply to this area, that there was something written into like state law that if you go solar, they actually cannot tax the addition to solar, like in terms of the value, only because I think it's partial part of that state mandate, or where they have to decarbonize the grid. So assuming that's the case, you know, that's pretty awesome.
We have not, just to interject, reaped all the rewards of going solar. I mean, we just did this in February.
Yeah.
It won't be until a year from this past February, next tax season, that we'll find out just how much more of a reward we're going to get.
With the tax credit,
But I liked, like I said, the reason we went with Virginia Energy Solutions is that we had little or nothing put on our shoulders as far as making the transition.
That's awesome.
And we didn't have any surprises. We knew when it was going to be installed. We knew the next step was to get the permission to operate letter. We were informed of that. We had already been told how to turn the system on. We had been briefed not only through an email, but when the inspection took place, the representative told us exactly what was going to happen and what to expect. And even going back further, when they did the installation, the electrician of the crew that did the installation, that worked on the panel, I went down and looked at it and stood back and watched him a little bit, and he says, "What do you want to know?" And I said, "Well, let me tell you what I see, and this is where you brought it in, and this is why, because we talked about 3 different mechanisms to breach the containment of the house to get to the control panel on the inside."
Yeah.
And he picked solution number 2, which was one of the 3 acceptable ones.
Yeah.
And when I saw the panel all exposed and everything, I walked through it and I said, "Okay, here's my hot lines, and here's my sensors." I said, "Boom, you got it. We know exactly what's going on. We know why. We know how." So again, there was nothing we needed to do except let it happen, let it unfold.
Yeah.
Which is what it did. And like I said, we got the permission to operate letter from the utility, and Virginia Energy Solutions says, "We see it. You're going to go turn it on? I dare you. Go ahead. Go turn it on." So we came out, we turned it on, and it's been on ever since without any hiccups whatsoever of any kind. And like I said, since day 3, we've outproduced from consumption perspective all along.
So the sun came up and the bills came down.
Yeah, that too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and for context, guys, initially me and David didn't even know each other. I just happened to be in the neighborhood, just letting people know about the programs that are going on with solar, and he gave it a shot. We sat down, looked at it, went over it.
Seems to be a popular thing going on right now. We've had 2 other companies come walking through the neighborhood door to door since then, and again, I can't emphasize this enough. When you do business with a commercial entity of any kind,
Mm-hmm.
it is truly rare, in my experience, that you get something from start to finish, that there's no hiccups, there's no surprises, and it's 100% exactly what you thought it was going to be from the very start through to the very finish.
That's awesome.
And that to me says a lot about a company that can do that.
Yeah.
They can tell you, this is where the hiccups, if any, are going to come, and this is what we'll do if it happens. You got to be experienced to make that happen. I like doing business with experienced contractors, so
Absolutely.
we were pleasantly pleased with how it all worked out.
That's what I like to hear. So I say it's always good to look at reviews, guys, and
And the other thing about those people who might be on the fence, I read somewhere where there were people going to supervisors, county supervisors, or city supervising panels saying, I can't believe solar energy companies are selling people who are retired, which I am, tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt. What are they supposed to do with that? How is that supposed to affect things? And my answer to those who would be worried about that, here's a couple things to think about. Number one, you increase the value of your home. So when you put the list price out there, if you need to sell, you better believe your home is going to fetch a higher price because it has solar power. Because you can look right at the realtor, or if you don't go through a realtor, sell by owner, you can look right at the prospective buyer and say, hey, you got an opportunity to have an $8.88 a month electrical bill for as long as you own this house. Does that make you feel like you might want to buy this house? Or you can say, you know what, I can knock a few thousand off the list price if you'd like, but to do so, it's going to cost you $100 a month for electricity for a few years.
Yeah.
And then it won't cost you anything but $8.88. What do you think about that? So again, I'm not concerned that I went a couple 10,000 in debt on Social Security.
There you go.
Because my outlay per month is less now than it was before.
True. And either way,
and I'm always going to need electricity.
That's right. It's a bill you're not going to cancel, guys. So we have to live somewhere. We have to have energy. We need gasoline. It's just one of those bills. So, like David said, if you can replace that with something that you know is fixed, you know exactly what it's going to be every single month, and you get some kind of return. Because even someone that might be concerned, possibly like, well, hey, if I do like a utility loan where I finance the solar and I have that fixed monthly amount, I don't want to go into debt. Guys, if your bill's even $250 a month, that's $3,000 a year. That's $30,000 in 10 years, assuming they never raise the rates again, which I don't think that would happen. But that's $30,000 in 10 years that you've given, and you could already pay the system off by the time 10 years has passed. So again, this is just a way to be more economic on a bill that you're not going to cancel. Now, this is the famous question I ask. Let's just say 2 years from now, you got the knock on the door from AEP, and they stood there and they try to convince you to, could we just rip the panels off and you just go back to us? Would you please do that for us, David?
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that would happen. But even in a hypothetical, comparing to where I am now to where I would potentially be in that scenario, there'd be absolutely no reason to do that.
No reason to do it.
Why would I want to take on, one, a higher bill right from the start, and a bill that through historical evidence is only going to get higher over time, and one that I don't know where the political lies are here, but one that's only going to require more fossil fuel consumption to Mother Earth, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Why would I do that? I just, no.
It makes sense. I mean, it's kind of like this, like you own your house, obviously. What would I have to say to convince you to go back and just rent somewhere?
There better be another light at the end of that tunnel.
That's right. Especially, I was like, would you like to rent and pay more? It's like, who would do that? But, well, you've been super informative. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure getting to serve you and your wife and help out. And guys, if you have any additional questions, if you're seeing this video maybe online, or maybe I'm just showing it to you in person, who knows, leave a comment if you have any questions. And like I said, we're over here in the Roanoke area helping people all over Virginia. And thank you for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day.